Right, guys. Very, very quick impromptu live stream. Thanks for so many jumping on. Thanks for all Paul's. This is kind of a shared stream between me and Paul and multiple channels and multiple platforms, which is great. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Paul, can you bring us up to date on what's happening? Because I've been running about a lot this morning. So
Yeah.
it's obviously about Tommy and the judgment. I don't know what's gone on. What's happened, Paul?
Well, the bottom line is he's lost his bid to bring a legal challenge over the prison segregation. It's been widely reported over the last 25 minutes. Do you want me to read a report?
Yeah, please do, Paul. Yeah, absolutely.
This is pretty much widespread. It says Tommy Robinson has lost a bid to bring High Court challenge against the government over his prison segregation. Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I never knew that, is serving an 18-month prison sentence for a civil offence of contempt of court after him breaching an injunction. On Thursday, his barristers told the High Court that he should be allowed to bring a legal challenge over his imprisonment at HM Woodhill in Milton Keynes. The court in London was told on Thursday that he had been kept segregated from other prisoners since November last year, which had caused an evident decline in his mental health. The Ministry of Justice opposed the bid. We know who's in charge of that, with its lawyers stating that Robinson was isolated following threats to his safety, including that he will be assaulted by other prisoners for kudos. In a ruling on Friday, Mr. Justice Chamberlain dismissed Robinson's bid, stating his case was not arguable and that it was not accurate to refer to his segregation as solitary confinement. Can you believe that?
It's I mean, Paul, do you know what? I mean, yesterday, and I think, do you know what? We're all fools, Paul, because what we do is we actually believe that the criminal justice system isn't. We've got 1,000 people jumped on already, and we literally set this up 10 minutes ago. So that's just amazing. By the way, guys, keep sharing this, liking and subscribing, so we can get a big audience, because we do want to dig into this. We've invited some other people in, but again, it's very last minute, so we don't know if anyone's going to actually weigh in, because we just want to get this out there. We said we'd do it. It's really important that everybody knows what's happening to Tommy, and we've got to work out what we do as a movement and as a people. What's our best next course of action? I think that's the that's the question. But guys, please get this out there, shared everywhere. But Paul, yesterday we were sitting there thinking, oh, the justice system might be working. We looked at this judge and we actually hoped that we had a just judge. We actually hoped that we had someone who's going to make a fair decision. Now, obviously, the reality is the judge has made his decision, and that's between him and his conscience. But this is not justice, Paul. And like I said yesterday, we have three-tier justice. We have the two-tier Keys justice, where the preferred demographic and everybody else gets priority and gets looked after. Then we have the justice for the Brits, and then we have justice for Tommy Robinson. It's a three-tier justice system. And I cannot believe, after what happened and after the debacle that there was in the court, and after how weak the government's defense was defending their position, that this judge has basically ruled that that's okay. We can lock him up for, and it's, do you know what, Paul? This is a frightening precedent that's been set, because let's get it right. Tommy hasn't done anything violent. He hasn't attacked anyone. He hasn't even incited anyone to attack anyone. Tommy has never, ever, in all the years of his activism, I want people to understand this, right? Because this is really important, because this goes against the narrative. Tommy has never, ever been convicted or even charged, or as far as I know, even questioned about hate speech, about incitement, about inciting violence, or any of those things, any of those slurs that's put upon him all the time, the racism, the incitement, all the rest of it. He has never, ever been charged with any of those offenses, and certainly never been convicted of any of those offenses. So what this is about, he is basically, Paul, getting sent to prison, tortured in prison, and it is torture what they did to him. Because if I was sitting in prison, right, and I'm sure you'll agree, if you and I were sitting in prison in solitary confinement, and we learned our mates were going to come on Wednesday or Thursday or whenever it was that we were meant to visit him, the lads were going to come and we'd have a laugh, and we'd be sitting there eating crisps, eating hula hoops and Doritos and drinking, Fanta in that little room. that would be a highlight for Tommy's week. Yeah, because it's his
Mm.
mates. He can have a laugh. I was going to say let his hair down. He doesn't have any hair anymore because he shaved it off. But you know, he could have a laugh, enjoy himself. That's been snatched away from him on numerous occasions, right? And we were disappointed as people that wanted to go and see him.
Imagine how he felt.
Exactly. I
Richard,
mean, where do we go, Paul?
Richard, let's just take this back to the very beginning. Let's just dissect this from the very start. So for anyone out there that has stumbled across this stream and doesn't understand or appreciate our frustration, our anger, our heartbreak, and the effects that this is having on Tommy and his family, his kids. He's got 3 kids, remember, right? Anyone out there watching this now that doesn't like Tommy, but pretends to be or thinks in their own mind that they're a liberal and that they're tolerant and kind. Consider this. Let's go back to the beginning. Tommy has 3 kids. He's never done anything wrong in his life. He's never hurt anyone, really. There's been a few minor misdemeanors, a bit of scallywag stuff. He made a documentary. Because a young man, his life had been ruined by people like Piers Morgan for spreading rumours and lies. And what did they say? What did Piers Morgan say about that young man online? I can't remember the exact quote.
He should. I think now again, I'm paraphrasing this because again, we don't want to say anything that he didn't say in case he sues us. But it was something along the lines, and like I say, this isn't the exact quote, but he should suffer severe retribution. I'll go and Google it, Paul. If you want to give a bit of a chat to camera, I'll Google it because I do want to know exactly what that was he said, because it was something along the lines of that young man should suffer severe retribution.
So Tommy made a film to counteract and counterbalance the truth of what happened that day. He made a film for a young man to get that young man out of trouble and to reveal the truth of what happened, what really happened. He went to the nth degree in probably one of the greatest pieces of British journalism that I've ever seen. It completely exposed the narrative. It completely exposed the government. It completely exposed all the nonsense behind that story. And what happens? They take him to court for showing that film. Not only do they take him to court, they put him in prison for his journalism. Now, even if that journalism was wrong, even if it was inaccurate, even if it wasn't true, and don't forget, guys, every day you read the Daily Telegraph and the Sun and the Mirror and the Guardian, God forbid, don't forget, there's never any lies attached to any of that, is there? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if the story was completely fabricated, did it deserve to be sent to jail? The answer to that is clearly and quite obviously no. But then on top of that, being a civil prisoner, remember this is not a criminal offence, being a civil prisoner, he is then put in solitary confinement for 9 months, denied visits from his friends, even his phone calls to his solicitors is cut off midstream to the point where it annoyed the judge, or we thought it did.
Yeah.
This is where we're at.
I mean, I'm looking for that quote and I can't find it, but I mean, this is the problem. And people we're going back to Pierced Moron, as I call him, old Pierced Moron.
It's not just Piers Morgan, by the way. It's not just Piers Morgan. There's plenty of them.
No, it's
Julia
not.
Hartley Brewer
It's not. It's
another one.
Well, yeah,
Nigel
exactly.
Farage is another one.
100%. And what's that? Tom, do you see? Was it Tom Harwood on GB News when the thing broke on X? The absolute, character assassination of Tommy that Tom Harwood did was absolutely completely scandalous. By the way, we've got over 3,000 watching this with such short notice. That's fantastic. Keep liking and sharing. Obviously, if you're on Paul's channels, we're not sure what's happening with the super chats at the minute because obviously it's been streamed from my channel.
There's one here, full English. Can one MP not ask a question in Parliament? Thank you very much, mate. I can't see the supers today, guys, because we're on Richard's channel.
I think what's probably happening, Paul, you'll probably be able to see them, but I can't put them on the screen. So if there's any pop up that you want to read out, by all means, you just interrupt me and just read them out, Paul, because I literally can't see them. But it's just, I think the level of state persecution of Tommy Robinson, and this is why we've got to win this, because there has to be justice for Tommy. There has to be a situation where we get to where he is absolutely revered as a national hero. Because let's get it right, what he's been talking about stuff that's massively coming home to roost now. The demographic change, the way this is spreading from town to town to city to city. He's been highlighting this for 10 years because he saw it, and I followed him since the very beginning. I didn't team up with him until 2018, but in the background, I followed him in every move he made. And I can tell you, if I'd have seen one thing, Paul, that would have made me think he was a Nazi or a racist or hated Muslims, I would have not had anything to do with him. And I've always said that, and I've always maintained
Same as
that.
me. I'd have been out.
He knows that.
I'd have been out of there very fast, Richard.
Exactly,
very fast.
exactly. And in some ways, Tommy's a lot more moderate than me. I mean, he's on some of his sort of social things, he'll be a lot less conservative than I would be. So he's by no means a far right extremist. He is basically a centrist that is saying, actually, radical Islam in its most brutal form is not good for the United Kingdom. That's all he's saying.
Richard, Tommy's message is no different to a lot of other people's. The only difference is he has a different accent.
Yes.
AJ Audits, thank you, mate. The judge was got at to deny Tommy his rights. I mean, let me read that last bit of that statement out again. In a ruling on Friday, Mr. Justice Chamberlain dismissed Robinson's bid, stating his case was not arguable and that it was not accurate to refer to his segregation as solitary confinement. Well, if you're spending 23 hours a day, 21 hours a day on your own, locked in a cell, what else would you call it apart from solitary confinement?
Exactly.
Now, yesterday, I've got to tell you, mate, I was full of hope last night. I went to bed thinking we're going to get a result tomorrow. There's going to be a bit of justice tomorrow. But I just wonder who's got Mr. Justice Chamberlain, who's got to him overnight.
Well,
who's been in his ear overnight?
The thing about it is, Paul, basically, by the way, there was a super chat for £10 there. They are coming through now, Paul, so I'm going to put them up on the screen.
Thanks, mate.
I can try and go back to that one, actually. In fact, it was
hopefully they're yours, Richard. They might be yours.
So. No, sadly. Well, this is the other thing. I mean, here's the thing about this, Paul, right? We were talking about this off camera. Anyone that was associated with Tommy in 2018, when Tommy stood for election in the European election campaign, and this is actually connected to what's going on here, because it's part of the lawfare, the warfare, and the financial warfare against people that believe what Tommy believes and have surrounded and supported Tommy for a long time. In 2018, now, again, I've got to be careful what I say, but as far as I was led to believe, people from the Commons Select Committee on, I don't know what it was, hate speech or internet or whatever it was, basically got in touch with Facebook and got all our accounts vaporized. Now, Yvette Cooper was on this select committee. Not saying it was her because I don't know for sure, but that was basically the rumor, right? That Yvette Cooper had gone to Nick Clegg and said, get all these people off Facebook. Not only did we all get banned off Facebook, we got shadow banned on Twitter so that we couldn't be monetized, and we couldn't be found on Twitter until Elon took over. And that's why it's such an amazing thing that Elon came in and breathed life into free speech. And I think Elon's another hero of free speech. And the attacks that he's undergoing at the minute in the States are just absolutely disgusting. But so what happened, Paul, was 2018, we all got our Facebook vaporized. I cannot have a Facebook account in my name at all. Just can't happen, right? YouTube was shadow banned, and YouTube was demonetized very shortly after that. So all of us, Sargon, Voice of Wales, numerous other, voices that were growing back in 2018, had our legs chopped off with a massive financial chainsaw. Because you know yourself, Paul, this takes a lot of time to do all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And all of us, Voice of Wales, Sargon, Paul Joseph Watson. I mean, Paul Joseph Watson had a massive account. I think he was probably maybe 500,000 in 2018 on YouTube. Can you imagine what he'd have been like now? And he got completely monetized.
Couple of bits. Ben Habib just messaged me. Not good news. Nelly says, Paul, you look tired. Do you know what, Nelly? I am tired. I'm tired of the injustice in this country,
Yeah.
and I'm tired of our friend being so inhumanely treated.
Yeah.
I suppose that the question now is, it remains to be seen, what's Elon Musk's reaction to this going to be?
Yeah.
But do you know what, Richard? I'm just done with that. I'm just done with this country and the way that we're being treated, the way that Tommy's being treated. I'm done with the injustice, the lies, the deceit. It's just sickening. I mean, it's just one kick in the guts after another, and particularly for one person individual.
Yeah.
One particular individual. I mean, I suppose, look, if he was going to desperately try and take something from this, I guess the only thing you can take from it is that at least he's pretty much halfway through his sentence now, and July is going to come around soon enough. But look, my message to everyone out there, and I keep saying this recently, if you want people like Tommy to go away, if you want people like me and Richard to shut up and talk about something else because you don't like Tommy or you don't believe in his cause, give the man justice. I don't want to be sitting here talking about this stuff. I want Tommy to be out of his family, enjoying his life, doing his campaigning, doing his journalism, doing whatever he wants to do. Just the same as I want every other journalist in this country, whether they be on the left or the right. Journalism is journalism. Journalism should not be subject, obviously subject to some laws, but free speech is key in this country. So it doesn't matter. How do you know when someone is a bad actor if they can't speak? If you gag everyone, if you gag the people that you don't like, how do the public decide if that person is telling the truth or if he's a bad actor?
I mean, do you know what, Paul? I don't know if you remember this in the 1980s, the late 80s. And again, this was one of the dumbest things that the British government ever did in Northern Ireland, right? The Sinn Féin, which was basically a mouthpiece of the IRA, let's just be, completely honest about it. They decided they were getting too much traction. They were a little bit slick at what they were doing. So what they did was, and this is no word of a lie, Paul, they actually had actors doing voiceovers. So when Jerry Adams or Martin McGuinness did a speech, they had Northern Irish actors putting a very squeaky voice on, right? Pretending to be Jerry Adams or Martin McGuinness. It was a broadcasting band. They said that if they were associated with the IRA, they couldn't have a voice. Now that's pretty much what they're doing with all of us. They're trying to give us a squeaky little voice that nobody can hear. And don't get me wrong, there's a totally different scenario here because we're actually against terrorism, we're against hate, we're against division, we're pro bringing people together.
Yeah.
But that is dangerous to the government because the government doesn't want that. I honestly think the establishment, this is what I think, Paul, I think the establishment have given up on the country and they think it's going to turn into Mogadishu in the rain or flipping, Afghanistan without the mountains. That's what I think the government have realized. They've massively messed up. And what they're doing is they're managing the decline until we become part of the preferred demographic. That is what's happening. And I think that's what Farage was alluding to when he said, remember we had that long debate the other day, because I've thought about that long and hard since we had it. And I think that's what Farage was alluding to. He's basically saying, the game's up, guys. It's a question of how we manage this. And I think that's the conclusion he's come to. I don't agree with that conclusion. I think we can win our country back. We can save our country. And that's why they're so against Tommy. And they'll be coming against UKIP soon. You mark my words. They will be going against Nick and the rest of UKIP very, very soon because, Nick is becoming another Tommy almost. He's becoming another voice, a reasonable, articulate voice, but he's also representing the working class. And I think, now's the time to really get some backbone because we've all had big hits doing this. All of us have taken a hit, been involved in this. You have, Paul. I have. We've been battered. But we're going to get a lot more of a battering and we need to really stiffen our resolve and say, do you know what? Whatever they throw at us, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep fighting in whatever way we can. And Tommy, this is why they're trying to crush Tommy. But do you know something about Tommy, Paul? Tommy will not bend. He will not break. And Tommy will come out of this prison. And
stronger than ever.
He will. He will. Now, he's going to go through he's going to go through a lot of hard times mentally, physically, probably. Spiritually, he's going to be under a massive attack for the next 6 months or so when he comes out. So everybody's got to give Tommy space when he comes out to do whatever he wants to do. If Tommy can get into America and go around America doing a lecture tour, he's got to be able to do that. Tommy has got to be protected from these savages when he comes out of when I'm talking about. And by the way, when I talk about the savages, I'm talking about the mainstream media and the British establishment, Paul.
Yeah,
I'm not talking about anything else. I'm talking about the absolute scumbags that have been running our country. And Paul, the playbook for this, the playbook for what they're doing with the UK is what they did when the empire was dissolved. And I spent a little bit of time in Sierra Leone in the sort of mid noughties, and I was involved in a charity out there, and I spoke to the people out there. Said, "Tell me this: what was it better when the British government and the British were in charge, or now you have freedom from the imperialists?" And every single person I spoke to said it was far better in the 1950s and 1960s. They had roads, they had schools, they had universities, they had a postal network. They had everything. And when we pulled out, these countries turned into complete basket case countries. And that's not me being imperialist. That's me just stating what the people on the ground. And I spent a good amount of time talking to people that had been alive when all those things had happened. So is this what we want for the United Kingdom? We want it to crumble into a little balkanized, you're going to have your Kurds here, your Indians here, these little silos all over. Is that what we want for our country? Or do you want something that's integrated and everybody's together, everybody's standing together, everybody's helping each other? Because that's what I want.
Just looking at the chat there, obviously that one on screen. Thanks, will do full English. There's a comment here. Where did I get this? Hold on a second. English Meadows. What about his human rights? Solitary confinement is torture. I mean, absolutely. What about his human rights? I mean, right now, Tommy is probably receiving worse treatment than Axel Rudabakana.
Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, if it's what we've been told about Axel, he's worshipping in the religion that he's chosen, and so he'll be protected. He'll be protected by the people that are in that system that follow that religion. So Axel's got no problems. The worst mass murder, well, not the worst mass murderer, but the most brutal, disgusting murderer probably in our lifetime, right? And yes, he is a mass murderer, and he's sitting pretty. He's sitting pretty. He's going to be protected. Nobody's going to get to Axel, Yet Tommy, if he went on the wing, they've said there's a guy that said he's going to kill him. That's why they're keeping him in segregation. That's why they're keeping him off. And the fact that they won't even recategorize him, I think it's probably one of the most. And here's the thing about that judge, Paul, right? That judge, basically, when I was reading about him yesterday, that judge, do you know what he wants for the United Kingdom, Paul? That judge that's just ruled against Tommy.
Go on.
He wants a First Amendment for the United Kingdom. So he thinks there needs to be a First Amendment for the United Kingdom.
Right. Well, Richard, I've just got some breaking news here. This has come direct from Tommy's official X post.
Go for it.
So I've got it here on my phone.
Okay.
This is the official in the High Court of Justice, King's Bench Division Administrative Court, case number blah blah blah, before Mr. Justice Chamberlain, between the King on the application of Stephen Yaxley Lennon, claimant, and the Secretary of State for Justice, defendant. Who is the Secretary of State for Justice? The Right Honourable Shabana Mahmood. And this is not a political prisoner, right?
No.
Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Here it is in black and white. Let me read it again. In the High Court of Justice, King's Bench Division Administrative Court, before Mr. Justice Chamberlain, on the 21st of the 3rd, 2025, between the application of Stephen Yaxley Lennon, claimant, and the Secretary of State for Justice, defendant. There it is in black and white, political prisoner.
Absolutely unbelievable, Paul. Absolutely unbelievable. Well, look, I've got my head around the supers now. So, guys, if you want to do supers, we can get them on screen now. So there's one there. It's just come in. Where is it? Come on. There you go, Paul. If you want to read those out, mate, because I think that they're obviously coming in through you. I don't think
The full English. Thank you very much. Can one MP not ask a question in Parliament? I think we read that one, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did. So yeah, I mean, the reality is, we're in a situation now where justice is completely broken down in our country, as far as I can see, Paul. I don't see this as justice. And, where do we go, Paul? What do we do? I mean, we're talking about politics. We've got to have a political solution. The political situation, because of Farage, and I'm just going to say it, Paul, because of what Nigel Farage is doing, the political situation in the United Kingdom or on the right is in complete chaos. And there's only one, and we keep getting accused of dividing the vote. There's only one man being divisive at the minute, and it's Farage. He won't talk to Ben and GB Pack. He won't talk to UKIP. He won't talk to the Tory party. He's going to do it his way. He's like Sid Vicious in that great rock and roll swindle movie where he's singing My Way and he pulls out the pistol and starts shooting people in the audience. That's what Nigel Farage is doing. He's got his little dinner jacket on. He's pulled out his pistol. He's singing My Way and he's shooting all his mates. That's basically what Farage is doing at the minute. And he needs to wind his neck in because our country needs saved. And the only way that we can save it peacefully is through political means. And I, for one, Paul, have lived through a semi-civil war in Northern Ireland, and I don't want to see one happen in England. Do you know what I mean? It can't happen. We need to find solutions for this. Tommy's part of the solution. What we're doing is part of the solution. Ben Habib's part of the solution. Rupert Lowe's part of the solution. Nick Tenconi, massive part of the solution. The right wing of the Tory are massive part of the solution. There has to be this coming together. There has to be a gathering, almost like a gathering of the clans, Paul, where people come together and we have like a meet where people go, yes, this is what we're going to do. This is how we can carve the country.
No, but Richard, this is the frustrating thing, Richard, and I said it in the video a couple of days back. Look, you know that, I know that. Half the bloody audience watching, probably 99% of the audience watching knows that. When will these people get round a table and sort their shit out and get us back on the road?
Exactly.
And look, you know how much I love Ben, I love Howard, I love Richard. I love Rupert.
I know you love me, Paul. I know you love me.
But don't tell everyone, mate. But, look, we know this stuff. It's time for these people to look past their minor differences, step up to the plate and take this bull by the horns and do it.
Yeah, totally.
Just do it.
And well, I mean, do you know what, Paul? We've got nearly 7,000, 6,800 guys. Like and share this. Let's get this over 7,000 because I can tell you now, I bet there's not 7,000 people watching Sky News at the minute. I bet there's not 7,000 in GB News at the minute.
Well, you know why people are watching us, Richard? Because we tell the truth. We tell it as it is.
Exactly.
And even if people don't like our message or what we're saying, at least they know we're telling the truth.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Dave Block, what a great question. How do they keep putting him on trial without a jury? Do you know what? I don't think Tommy's ever had a jury.
No.
This man has been to prison, half a dozen times? He has never, ever once been sat in front of a jury. Ever.
Yep. He is the most, with 6,900 watching, he's the most sinned against man by the state in my lifetime.
Richard, this should be a national uproar. This should be front page on every single newspaper that this country has to offer. This should be the headlines on every mainstream media news story around not just this country, but around the world. The United Kingdom, a first world country, has a man in jail for his political beliefs. He's been tortured for his political beliefs. But what do these people do? They're cowards. They hide.
They hide.
All the mainstream media, they hide.
And GB News. Where's GB News on this?
Where are they?
There's been, and give credit where credit's due. Michelle Dewberry, she has stood up and said stuff. Patrick Christis, little bit, I mean, they even ripped off Tommy's ROB films. By the way, we're over 7,000 people watching this Friday lunchtime. No warning. That is the appetite there is for this news and this stream, Paul. People, the love for Tommy. People are coming on watching this not because they particularly want to see, me, but they love Tommy and they want Tommy to be out and they want Tommy to be free. And this is the frustrating thing because Tommy represents the ordinary British man. He represents the British working class.
Tommy is Britain. Tommy is the United Kingdom.
He is. He is.
Tommy. I mean, we spoke about Nigel Farage having a Messiah complex.
Yep.
Well, let me tell you something. I've met Tommy Robinson on a number of occasions, and I've got to know him reasonably well. There is no Messiah complex involved with Tommy Robinson, but I tell you what, he's the nearest bloody thing that we've got to a real Messiah.
Well, do you know, I've said this before, Paul. You know, I've spoken to Tommy a lot about this down through the years. You know, about his sort of his spiritual journey and where he stands. And you know, he plays his cards close to his chest, and you know, he's not close to any sort of spirituality. But years ago, when he was in prison, I think it was 2014 when he was in Woodhill. I could be wrong. A vicar came to see Tommy. And the vicar said to Tommy, this is word for word what he said, "You are England's sacrificial lamb." That's what the vicar said to him. And that was prophetic. And do you know what Tommy said? He says that strengthened him so that when he's going through what he's going through. Now, Tommy doesn't say whether he believes in God or not, right? I'm not going to put words in his mouth. I'd love him to be a believer because I think it would help him a lot and have more, what's the word I'm looking for, perspective on what he's actually doing. And I don't mean that in a patronizing way. If you understand that this is not just a political battle, it's also a spiritual battle, it gives you a lot more perspective on what you're doing. And I think he does understand that. But that Tommy said to me, that vicar saying that to him, that he was England's sacrificial lamb, gave him a great deal of strength. And when his back's against the wall, he goes, yeah, I'm called to do this. He knows he's called to do this. And that's why I laugh when people start taking Tommy Robinson on and taking his team on and all the rest of it. They're on a hide into nothing because Tommy's picked for this.
They just don't understand, do they?
They don't understand. Tommy is picked for this, you know?
Nick,
how many people will be at...
Yeah, go on. No, read it out, Richard. It's your show today.
How many people will be at Woodhill for Tommy's release? Paul, you're doing a great job. Thanks for all you do. And others do. Thanks for that, Nick. Well, I think that's a very good question. There should be a massive crowd there if Tommy wants it. I mean, Tommy may want to just come out quietly and get offside. Does he want to be mobbed by a whole lot of people? Who knows? I mean, that's really down to Tommy if he wants that. Yeah. But
I mean, Nick, can I just say thank you for that comment? And there's a lot of people that say the same to Richard and I. Thanks for what we're doing. But I will say, I don't consider that we actually do a great deal. All we do is tell the truth.
Yeah.
And what state has the nation got to when people feel they need to thank us for telling the truth? You know, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. Thank you so much. But that's all we do.
I do too, Paul, and I'm laughing because I know what I am. I know, you know, I know my own faults and failings. I'm very honest about that. I'm not. I've just looked at this stuff for a long time, and I think what it is, Paul. We're giving a very, between me, you, Danny, and the other people that we have on your shows, we're giving a very balanced view of what's going on. Because obviously, I've got my opinions, you've got your opinions. We're pretty much on the same line, but there's slight nuances. And I think that's important. So we're not, because it stops you basically going too far to one way or the other. Because if, you know, it's a balance, isn't it? We've got a good balance, Paul. I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Richard, let me just say this, mate. Let me tell you something. I'll tell you something about myself. I mean, I think most people know this already, but deep down, I'm a bit of a softie. I don't want to see anyone get hurt. I don't want to see people's hearts being broken. I don't believe in, I don't believe in anything that's bad. I believe in life. I believe in good people. I believe in human beings. I just believe in good against evil. And the fact that someone like myself has been pushed into a position where I feel that I have to do what I'm doing is it's just shows you how far we've come. It shows you how far that we've dropped. I never ever thought that in my life I would be doing what I'm doing now, because I didn't believe that we would fall to this level.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
And my appeal to every single person out there watching today, I know it's been difficult. We know the problems it brings. We know that it can change your life, not always for the better. But please stand up, speak out, speak up, speak to your friends, do whatever you can do to spread this message, to share these live streams. We've got to get the message out there. Enough is enough. I mean, the injustice that's going on in this country right now, right across the board, is just absolutely insane. And I just don't know where we go from here, Richard,
Paul,
because
you know what,
when you
Paul,
study this, it's just gone. Sorry.
no. I think, Paul, I think to encourage you, Paul, and everybody else that stood up, if you've stood up like you have, Paul, and you've had a massive impact. There's something about the way you, because you are a gentleman, and I mean that in the best sense of the word. There's something about the way you present things, and that gentle, kind way of presenting things that people warm to, right? And I think you are called to do this. And if you ever stop doing this, I'm going to be knocking your door and saying, "Come on, Paul, get back on the channel, man, because we need you." So because like, let's get it right. We get a lot of grief from inside the camp and outside the camp. We get it. All of us do. And you get to the stage, you get a thick skin, you just ignore it and keep doing what you're doing. But and I'd say to anybody else that's doing what we're doing, I was talking to probably one of the most prominent YouTubers in the country a few months ago, and he was really getting it tight. A lot of people were digging him out. A lot of people were attacking him. And I just encouraged him and says, look, I says, you are giving the best analysis. I'm not even going to say what he was talking about, because it'll give away who it is. I said to him, I says, you've got to keep doing what you're doing. You're giving the best analysis on that specific subject I have ever seen. Keep doing it. Keep fighting. And, because we need to stick together, and we need to, oh, look at this one. Lovely. We need to stand together. There's Pauline Pace.
Welsh lady. Thank you as well. Welsh lady.
$100. Amazing. Jealousy is a dangerous emotion, and they're threatened by his voice. That's right. Farage is threatened by him. Farage is absolutely threatened by him.
The thing is, what they don't get, Richard, but people watching this stream now will get.
Yeah.
If Tommy Robinson was here before this latest stitch up, he is now right up here. He
absolutely.
Is and I tell you now, as bad as the first half of the year has been for Tommy, his team, for his supporters, as bad as the first half of the year has been, believe me when I tell you, the second half of this year is going to be monumental, because I believe that Tommy Robinson will be sitting at the table with Elon Musk. He will be sitting at the table with Donald Trump. He will be sitting at the table with JD Vance. The Americans will not give up on Tommy, because he is a freedom fighter.
Yeah.
And they will not give up on him.
Yep. Full English. Thanks for that £100 super chat. Absolutely amazing. I want to see Musk meeting Tommy with USA passports for Tommy and his family. 100 million %. 100 million %. We need to get Tommy into the United States of America.
It's going to happen, Richard. Trust me. It's going to happen. It's not. It's not an if. It's not. It's not a
exactly.
But. It's a when. It's a when.
Exactly. I want to go back to Welsh lady quickly. Yeah. It has to be. Do you know what, Welsh lady? I agree. And listen, at the end of the day, if somebody manages to cobble together an absolutely super party with Ben and Nick Tenconi and Liz Truss and Suella Braverman and Douglas Murray and all the superheroes, all the it's like a superhero movie. If you had all those superheroes in, Captain America, get him in there as well, and Wonder Woman, get all the superheroes in a party.
Danny from Spain.
Danny from Spain. Let's get Danny from Spain, man. I tell you what, that sorted all out, wouldn't it? But where is Danny from Spain? I bet he's doing a live stream on his own channel.
He's probably cooking a bacon sandwich.
We are creeping up to 8,000 people watching this.
Thank you so much, guys. Everyone watching this, please make sure that you subscribe to Richard's new channel. We need to get Richard's channel monetized. Sorry, Richard, but I'm going to say this on your behalf. Richard goes through a tough time. Let's get Richard's channel monetized. He desperately needs it, just to keep his head above water. So if you haven't already subscribed to Richard's new channel, Counter Media, please make sure that you do. It's the biggest favor that you could do me today. Never mind my channel. Please get over to Richard's channel and please subscribe. Richard, I'm going to slightly disagree with you there about you keeping to respect that. All of these parties now, all of them, they need to get together.
Well, that's true. That's true. I agree with that.
United we stand, divided we fall. And all these little minuscule differences, they need to put them to one side, come together as a massive force to win this country back.
Well, I agree with that, actually. I do agree with that. I mean, there needs to be that super coalition, that grand coalition. Like I say, we keep going back to it. Nick Buckby, the grand coalition. That needs to happen. Now, here's the thing, Paul.
And Nick Tenconi would be willing to take part in that.
Of course he would. Of course he would, because do you want to be a small fish in a small pond, or do you want to be big fish in a small pond, or do you want to be a medium-sized fish in a massive pond that's going to actually really take the country back and really change it? We're on 7,800 people watching. I was thinking about the pledge, Paul, because we've kind of, guys, listen, 7,800. Go to the website. If you haven't done this already, go to the website, thepledge.org.uk. We're overseeing it, me, Paul, Jeff, and David, and go to that website, sign up, and you'll get on the mailing list. Now, I was thinking about the pledge here, Paul. I was talking to a solicitor yesterday. It was about a matter, it wasn't about the pledge, but it was about how you can actually enforce certain behavior on people. Not enforce, that's probably not the right word. Encourage people to behave in a certain way, right? Legally, and it's a legally binding thing to do. And what happens is people have to make what's called an undertaking. I don't know if you knew this. You probably know it, Paul. You've been in business a long time. You make an undertaking to do certain things, and then you sign it at the end. We could go to MPs, Paul, right? And this is why the pledge is. We've got to get the pledge really going now, because the pledge, even though I'm, cards on the table, I'm a member of UKIP. I'm on the UKIP NEC, but the pledge is totally separate and independent from UKIP, and it always will be, right? But what we can do with the pledge, Paul, we can go to politicians and possibly even political parties and say, we want you to undertake, and we'll get this worked out by a solicitor, to undertake to subscribe to all the parts of the pledge. And at the end of it, they say at the beginning, I make a solemn undertaking to do, sign the bottom of it. That becomes a legal contract between the pledge and the politician, right? So if you as an MP have done that, you are bound to follow what the pledge contains. Now, that could be an absolute game changer, because that cuts right the way across party politics. We're nearly on 8,000 people watching this stream. That cuts across party politics. So, guys, please go to the pledge. Somebody spoke to me about that a long time ago when we first started talking about the pledge and doing the pledge, and I wasn't sure about it. But talking to this solicitor last night, and I'm gonna pursue that with him next time I chat to him. But if that's the case, we could be in a really, really interesting position with the pledge. But getting back to Tommy, Paul, what do we do now? What do we as a movement do? I mean, we're not. I don't think. Are we? Is the time coming to do another event somewhere for Tommy, or do we do them in all our local areas? What do we do, Paul?
I think we the most important thing is we adhere to Tommy and his family's wishes.
Yeah.
And we need to wait and see what they are.
Yeah.
What we must do is, like I say, we must respect those wishes. So at the moment, I'm not going to say what I think we should do. It's not really my business. But at the end of the day, we're running out of options, aren't we?
I think so. I mean, there's someone talking about Douglas Murray. I would love to see Douglas Murray involved in politics. He's come back to the UK, Douglas, get involved, roll your sleeves up. David Starkey, David Starkey's an older guy now. I don't, there's a lot of stuff David Starkey says I don't agree with, but,
Richard, the other day in a video, I said, it's always darkest just before dawn.
Yeah.
And I think we're coming up to the point now where it is just before dawn, right?
Yeah.
For me, one man holds the key here. And that's Elon Musk. And I tell you why, because if Elon Musk financially backs a new British political super party that encompasses all the people that we've spoken about, and people like Douglas Murray could be tempted to step up.
Yep.
People like David Starkey.
Yep.
We won't go through the names. There's probably 50 or 60 of them, at least, big players, maybe more. The Katies of this world, the Gerard Battens of this world, even although he's retired now. Gerard, bless him. I'd love to see Gerard. I'd love to find a place for Gerard somewhere amongst the party, even if it was just as an advisor. Mm-hmm. Because there's a man with a magnificent patriotic brain that would only serve this country well. If Elon Musk financially backs and facilitates a new right-wing super party in this country, then the second half of this year could not only be magnificent for Tommy, it could also be magnificent for the nation. But what we have to get used to, and I said this again the other day in the video, the British public need to lose the perception of what a politician should look and sound like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Most people out there, if you pass them on the street and you ask them about their perception of what a good politician looks like, he wears a suit, he speaks well, he's well educated. But how have these people served us over the years with their posh accents and their snobbery?
Paul,
And their ignorance, their lack of real world, real life experience. Most of these people, most of these chancellors have never even had a goddamn job in their lives.
Exactly.
Maybe it's time that the British pub. Sorry, Richard, I'm just on one of my little
sorry,
rants.
no, absolutely.
Maybe it's time that you average everyday Joe and Joanna Bloggs walking around the streets of this country, from whatever race or religion or background they come from, should realise that sometimes the very best people that are qualified to take care of the people are the people, and not the people that they perceive to be best placed to look after the people.
And I know
for a fact that good people like we've just mentioned, we would I tell you now, Richard, if for instance, if there's members of the Muslim community out there watching this now thinking what a bunch of Islamophobes or whatever they're thinking, let me tell any Muslim watching this show right now, I would take care of you and your family better than the Labour government. 100%. And do you know why? Because I'm a goddamn human being. I care about people. I care about all people.
Totally. And do you know what? One of if we ever got our hands on the organs of power, one of the things I would do is work massively for the emancipation of Muslim women, because there are literally millions of Muslim women in this country who are being treated like slaves, and it's hidden. And that's the truth. That is an absolute truth. And it's a massive women's rights issue. The hypocrisy of so-called feminists that celebrate the hijab day, the reality of the situation, there are and I know this because I've spoken to a lot of women that's come out from under that yoke, Muslim women, Pakistani, Bangladeshi women who have been treated like dirt, right? And I'm not saying there's not abuse of women in every single culture. Of course there is. But there is something in those cultures that militates to keep women down. They're deliberately not allowed to learn the language. They're deliberately suppressed and kept in their place. And the emancipation of Muslim women and bringing them into Western civil society, I think, would have a massive impact on radicalization, on all the bad stuff going on.
Richard, maybe the women hold the key. I mean, I'm a big advocate of women's rights in the respect that, I've always said it, I'll make no apology for repeating it, and the mark of a great nation is how they look after their young, their sick, their elderly, the children, etc., and also how we take care of our women and make sure that they're safe, loved, looked after, respected for what they are. The weaker sex physically, not mentally, but physically. Yep. It's our job to take care of them in from a physical viewpoint. So maybe it's the women from the Islamic community that hold the key. We want to support you. We want to help you. We want to help you escape from veil of secrecy.
There's work going on, Paul. I mean, I know Muslim women, ex-Muslim women that are basically there's Muslim women that are basically ex-Muslim women that are heavily involved in trying to help women that are caught in abusive relationships in the Muslim community that are not getting justice, because of the theological and cultural fear that surrounds them, So I think what you're saying is absolutely right. And again, we look at Shohab in Wales, I'm not going to go into detail, but I know there's people in our movement have got him good legal representation, because he didn't have good legal representation. He's got world-class legal representation now. That was done by people in our movement. I'm not going to say who did it, but that actually happened. We've nearly got 8,400 people
It's
watching
amazing.
this live stream at
Amazing.
lunchtime. Do you know what, Paul? This shows the appetite for what we are
Yeah.
saying, and the appetite for seeing justice for Tommy Robinson, justice for our country. We want to, do you know what, Paul? You know, you think about Martin Luther King Jr. And when I first started this, I spoke to a Christian pastor and told him what I was doing. He says, Richard, he says, do it like Martin Luther King Jr., not like Ian Paisley, right? And that's not a slur on Ian Paisley. And you actually knew Ian Paisley, and he was a good man. But what he meant was, you do it with very obvious love and compassion for your enemies, you know, and you have that mantra of fight hate with love. Yeah. You have that mantra of basically, we're going to do this not because we hate people, but because we love our country and we want our country to succeed. If you're filled with hate and bitterness, you shouldn't be in our movement. There's no place for anyone in our movement that's filled with hate and
Exactly.
bitterness. We're
Richard,
about bringing people together.
I've got one bit of bad news for you. You did
Yeah.
predict that we probably have more viewers than Sky News Live at the moment. Unfortunately, they do have about 500 people more than us watching live across a multi-billion-pound platform.
Yep.
Yep. And
500,
they are.
well, that guys, listen, 500 more people. Like and subscribe. Let's get this up to 10,000 at lunchtime before we knock off, and then we can say that we had more people watching.
Well, Richard, they're in the middle of a breaking news story about the whole of Heathrow being shut down. So there's a big story going on right now.
What have we got on that, Paul? What do we know what's happening?
I don't know exactly, but it's nothing to do with terrorism or anything. It's something to do with this net zero lark and Ed Miliband and all that. But you know, there's a big story going on. There's hundreds of flights being cancelled, and obviously that story is attracting a lot of viewers.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're still only 500 or so viewers behind them. Sky News Live.
Yeah. But I mean, I think the reality is, I mean, obviously, what we've come on this to do today is say, look, even though the case has gone against Tommy, the fight's not over. He's going to continue to fight. He's going to continue to take a stand. And again, the fact that we've got nearly 9,000 people watching I was going to say middle-aged men. We can't even say we're middle-aged anymore, can we, Paul?
Not really. Well, Richard, I've got one bit of news. I mean, listen to this. This is unbelievable. I'm watching GB News Live now on my phone, and there's 851 people watching.
On the internet. 850. Yeah. So we've got 10 times more watching.
Yeah.
watching us chatting. Maybe we need to be hired, Paul. Do you know what I mean?
Well, I've got to say, Richard, the more I look at you, the more you're starting to look like Alex Phillips, just without the blonde hair. But
the glasses that do it for you, Paul, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Michelle Dewsbury. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Start
You make
calling
me feel.
Michelle.
Yeah, I'm going to take the glasses off. I think I'll just have to take the glasses off and rough myself up a little bit, Paul.
Now, so you look a bit more like Benjamin Butterworth now.
I thought you were going to say Benjamin Button for a minute,
Oh dear! I'll tell you what, though, Richard, I was so hoping for some good news today.
Well, so was I, and I mean, I think the good news is that every time they do this, Tommy's stock rises. Every time they do this, and do you know what I hope? This is what I hope for Tommy, right? See, when he gets out of prison, right? I would love Tommy, because obviously, let's not forget, Paul, September, massive freedom event in London. I've got an idea of some of the people that are going to be speaking. I'm sworn to secrecy, so I'm not going to tell anyone, but we are talking some of the biggest political names in the United States of America. And that's all I'm going to say.
Absolutely. But I'm going to say this, and I'll tell you something, Richard, I'm going to make no apologies for this statement, right? Yes, the biggest demo in our history is planned for September, but there's a big but. There's a big cloud hanging over that right now. Talking to Tommy's team over the last few days, that event is going to cost an absolute fortune, and they have to. Who's going to pay for that, Richard? They have to raise the money to put that event on.
Well, Paul, they
have to.
This brings me back to the point I was making earlier. It is not just lawfare. It's not just harassment. It's not just intimidation. It's not just the hate of the establishment, the hate of the mainstream media. I've seen some of the vitriol coming out of the mouths of those so-called journalists, disgusting, vile people. it's not just that, Paul. We're under financial warfare. There was that disgusting story in The Sun a few days ago without any foundation whatsoever, right? And those things have an effect on people's psyche. And what I would say is, anybody that believes in freedom, basically we need, it's about 120 grand, I think, for the event, Paul, isn't it? I think it's about 100. I think that was the last one. The one in
yeah, the last one was
Square.
about 100 grand, I think.
Yeah. So this is going to be bigger, and everything's going to be bigger. So Urban Scoop need massive support. So if you can get to Urban Scoop and you believe in that event that's going to happen, and you're going to come to that event, I always say to people about the events, if you were going to a football match, or you were going to, I mean, if you want to see Pink, right, or Bruce Springsteen, or whoever, right, some rock star, you're not going to get any change out of 300 quid. You're not. Sure, you're not going to get change out of 300 quid by the time you book your hotels, your travel, and your ticket, and that's even the cheap tickets. If you go for an expensive ticket, you're not getting change out of 500, 600 quid. So is it difficult to throw 100 quid in? If you've got the money, obviously you ain't got the money, don't do it. Is it difficult to throw 100 quid to Tommy, to Urban Scoop and Tommy to basically support this event? Because if 1,000 people throw 100 quid in, that's the event paid for. Do you know what I mean, Paul? So I think the financial burden of this is massive. And for it to be what we need it to be, we need a lot of good people to basically say, yes, I'll support Urban Scoop and I'll support this event. And by the way, I'm not on a commission for Urban Scoop. I don't get anything out of Urban Scoop. I've no vested interest in Urban Scoop
I
whatsoever.
can absolutely and utterly confirm with my hand on my heart that I have never, ever, ever, ever had a single penny from Urban Scoop. And as far as I'm aware, neither has Richard. And if anyone can prove otherwise, I'll give them 10 times the amount. Go on, Richard.
Also, Paul, I know for a fact that you've given a lot of money to Urban Scoop yourself. You've donated generously to Urban Scoop. So
because I believe in the cause, and I understand I understand, Richard. I've put minor events on myself in the past, little watch shows, etc. Bits and pieces in the Boxing Days, and I know what it takes to put something like this together. There's another update from Tommy's official team. Important update on Tommy's situation. We are not even 24 hours after the judicial review application was heard in a court. And I can confirm Tommy is not working today, and he again has had his phone calls restricted. Wow. He will not be allowed to call anyone between 5 and 7 p.m. today at all. So much for all these alleged privileges.
Yep. Exactly.
It's just bullshit, isn't it? It's just bullshit.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. So if you're going to support Urban Scoop, go to urbanscoop.news, right? I'm pretty sure that's the website. I hope it's the right one. Yeah, it looks like it. So go to urbanscoop.news, click on the supporters button, and you can support the cause and basically help get this thing in September paid for. I mean, that's not what we're coming on here to talk about. We're not here to talk about money, but please, if you can, support Tommy and Urban Scoop in what they're doing. We're nearly on 9,000 people watching this now, Paul. 8,000. What's the biggest one you've ever had on a live?
I can't honestly remember, mate, to be fair. Around about that figure, 9,000-10,000, yeah.
It's got to be up there, hasn't it? I mean, and this is a Friday lunchtime. So guys, keep liking and sharing this, keep liking and subscribing to every single channel that's represented here. And listen, if my channels never get monetized, and there's a chance they won't get monetized because, again, because of the reason that I spoke about, I'm going to keep doing this anyway, because yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes energy. Yes, it takes a lot of thought to come on and talk for an hour and a half about these issues. But to me, the cause is bigger than any financial gain that we ever get. And if Paul got demonetized tomorrow, he wouldn't stop doing it. He would keep going, because he's in it for the cause, and he's in it.
Absolutely. The only difference is there for me, Richard, is that, believe it or not, at my time of life, if I was demonetised, I'd actually go and have to find another way of earning some income, because at the end of the day, and this is just an off the side now, let's pretend that no one's watching, right?
Yeah.
It'll be difficult because I know there is, but let's pretend there's no one's watching. The bottom line is this. The bottom line is this, is that my accounts this year, not that it's anyone's business, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Yeah.
My accounts, I'm 40 grand light on my first year in this movement. 40 grand. And that's the God's honest truth. And if I wanted to publish those accounts, I could do. They're all verified. They're all documented. I'm 40 grand down. So for people out there that want to say, oh, you know, you're grifting, it's this, it's that, it's money, it's super chats and all that, you know, surprise, surprise. God, you know, forbid that any one man has to earn a living to pay for his family and his kids and his grandchildren. So look, that's the end of that. Well, I don't want to talk about that too much, but get a bit tired of that one, Richard. I've got to be honest. And you poor bugger, this isn't about me. You poor bugger, you don't get a goddamn penny. I mean, look, I do my best to help you out, you know, here and there, you know that, and other people do as well.
And
but
listen, I mean, I want to actually thank, because people that follow my YouTube channel, people that follow me on Twitter, they have been very generous and they have been helping me out. And I want to make a public thank you to everyone that's, you know, that's done that. And it's like, there's a story in the Bible about Elijah, and he was in a situation where there was a famine, and ravens came and fed him. And that's pretty much what's happening at the minute. And I don't want to sound like I'm, you know, woe is me, because it's not that situation. I know
we're just telling the truth, Richard.
It always, do you know what, Paul? What, you know, and I think it's God. It always comes in, right? When your back's against the wall, somebody pulls it out for you, and somebody, you know, helps out. Because pretty much this is pretty much become my full-time, you know, gig, you know, because of what's happened with the business and with getting cancelled and people avoiding, you know, because of what I do, people, and this definitely happens. If someone Googles my name, you know, you're not going to think too well of me if you're a businessman in, you know,
you're not going to get a
Abu
job
Dhabi
anywhere,
or wherever.
that's for sure. You're not going to get a job.
No,
listen,
not.
guys, please make sure you get over and subscribe to Richard's channel. I don't know if you're watching on my channel, or this is actually going out live on Richard's channel today, but please make sure you subscribe to Counter Media. Let's help get this man monetized on YouTube so that at least he gets something back for his efforts.
Yeah, and again, the way, you know, we don't know if we're going to get monetized. I mean, that's in the lap of the gods at the minute. But we're over 9,000 watching live now, Paul. We're over 9,000. So I think we're up there with
Thank you so much,
9,100 watching. And again, this is going out on 5 channels. So, you know, so it just shows you there's the safety in numbers, and the more we can do this together. And Paul, here's the thing about this. Here's the scandal about this. I don't think what we're saying is revolutionary or wrong or bad in any way, shape, or form. We're saying the opposite. We're saying that
just so you know, Richard, we've now overtaken Sky News Live.
Fantastic. Well, that's
so I'll have to put the makeup on next time.
Well, this is it, Paul. You know, I mean, you were talking about me being a newsreader. You remember Richard Baker? I look a bit like Richard.
Yeah. As long as I ain't Hugh Edwards.
I was just going to say that. Don't even keep that. You know, keep that man's name out of
you know me by now, Richard. When something funny pops into my head, I have very big trouble.
There's no filter. Sure, there's not, Paul. None of us have any filters, and that's the good thing about us. I think, you know what I mean. People appreciate that. You know.
But I'll tell you what, Richard. Before we wind up for a day, it's a nice sunny day down here in Brighton. You know, it's lovely looking out the window, and it's Friday. It's the weekend. We're looking forward to the weekend, as most people do. Just take a moment to think about our man again, where he is right now. Sat in a 10 by 8 or whatever it is, 6 by 4, I don't know. Alone. Another weekend, no one to speak to, phone calls cut off, visitors denied. Hasn't seen his friends for weeks, coming up months now. Even people like myself and Richard denied access. Just take a moment to think about that for a moment. And what this man is going through, in his own words, for our children, not even his, ours. Because if it was for his children, he'd have bowed out years ago. He does it for everyone's kids. And I will always respect that.
Yep. And there's Claire Bear on Paul saying there was no notification came through from either of our channels. And yet we've still got nearly 10,000 people watching
Yeah.
on a Friday lunchtime with no warning whatsoever. This was basically going out. Thanks for that, Claire Bear. Really appreciate that.
Thanks, Claire. Yeah.
Can you drop Richard Luke YouTube in the chat? If you go onto YouTube, CW, and just type in Counter Media UK,
let me see if
you'll
I
find
can
it all
do
right.
that. Let me see if I can do
Paul,
that for
that'd
you,
be great.
Richard. Big thanks to all the mods as well. They do a great job.
Yeah.
They know they are. Thank you so much.
No, and
Let me
this is
see
the
if
thing,
I
Paul. There's a
can,
lot of people doing stuff in the background. This is the other thing. There's the hidden hand of people doing stuff in the background, people that come alongside you and help you, people that will, do some heavy lifting on different bits and pieces. Because I can't deal with all my social media, so I don't have an official Facebook account. But any interactions that happen on Facebook, I have to do them through a third party. So we've got third party. I'm not going to name what channels they are that I do it through, but there's people doing that for me. And again, if they weren't doing it, I wouldn't have a voice on that platform.
I've just popped the link to Richard's channel in the chat there.
See if I can find that. It's the problem is the chats are coming in so fast, Paul. You miss them. Do you know what I mean? So, and it doesn't happen with my.
I'll pop it in a few times, and hopefully people will be able to pick it up. Please go over.
I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Subscribe.
There we go. I think I've got no. Yeah, there we go.
That's it.
So that's
there
it.
You go.
That's it there. Yeah, that's it there. And actually, okay. I think what I've
got to change that picture of me there, Richard. When I look at it, it looks like I've got my finger up my nose.
Well, Paul, I think that was the situation, wasn't it? Wasn't that when you had that flu?
It might have been. It might have been. It might have been.
Something here. Sorry. Okay.
My phone is going ballistic, by the way. You asked for online.
What have you got, Paul? You got anything interesting coming in there, mate? I'm gonna do something I don't normally do, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna stick my PayPal link in here.
Honestly, do you know what, Richard? There's nothing that I could read out on a family show.
Is that right? People are just fuming.
Everyone is absolutely livid.
Yeah.
And there's some reasonable names in this chat as well. Andrew Bridgens just messaged me. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Yeah, just read what if you can read the stuff. Obviously, if it's confidential, you can't read it. That's
no, there's stuff in. It's just people are just pissed off, mate, like we all are.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yes, I say
it is. It's just. Comments. It is really, really. What's happening is beyond ridiculous, Paul. Really, really is beyond ridiculous. And when you think about it, anybody else anywhere around the world, this would be an absolute national scandal, and yet nobody seems to care
touching
about it.
Nobody's
touching it.
Well, that tells you all. That tells you everything you need to know about the people in charge of the country and about the mainstream media. And every single news presenter that we see that doesn't talk about this or that doesn't put up a fight within their organisation to talk about this. Now, I know that Katie Hopkins called out Michelle Dewsbury the other day a bit. Now, I like Michelle. She's a good girl. She's obviously on our side. And I don't want to dig her out because I think she's a good girl. However, it's time that all these people, all of them, none of these people are hard up for a few quid. They're not going to eat. They're not going to be eating crisps for dinner.
No, they're not. They're not, Paul. I mean, I'm not going to because what I don't want to do is dig people out that have been on side. Alex Phillips has been great. Michelle Dewberry's been great. There's a few other people that have actually, put the head above the parapet and have been really, really decent, right? But by the way, that's my PayPal details on the screen there for Count Media. They've been absolutely fantastic. But the ones that haven't, they're the ones that, we were talking about Tommy being in prison, right? I think that judge is in a sort of prison, Paul, because that judge was very clear a few years ago about wanting to have a First Amendment for the UK. And obviously, if everyone knows, I'm not going to patronize people, but for anyone that doesn't know, First Amendment is the free speech clause in the American Constitution. The First and Second Amendment is what keeps America free. Let's get it right, Paul. The fact that they can say what they want, and the fact that they can have firearms, as a constitutional right, is what's kept America free from the tyranny that we're now suffering from. And the fact that they've got a massive Christian population there who votes in a conservative way on the whole, and that's maybe it's not as much as it used to be, but it's still there. So, but this judge, Paul, wanted a First Amendment for the United Kingdom. Well, what happened to that? What happened to those thoughts that he had about a First Amendment, about looking after people's civil and religious rights? Where's that gone?
Well, we need a First Amendment, and just a very quick overview of the First Amendment in the United States Constitution. It protects fundamental freedoms, including religion, speech, the press, assembly, and the right to petition the government. So in America, under no circumstances would Tommy be in jail. Under no circumstances would me or you have to be careful about what we can and cannot say on YouTube. So to say that we do not live under a tyrannical government right now is just a ridiculous statement. We're being blackmailed in many respects.
I mean, it's intimidation. I mean, the reality is the fact that we have to be careful about what we say about religion, about politics, is absolutely scandalous. And we're never saying anything that's hateful, Paul. But it's very difficult for me to, and I'm not boasting, but I'm quite knowledgeable about religion. I'm quite knowledgeable about politics and geopolitics. But it's very difficult for me to say exactly what I want to say, because one, I'm very aware of your channel as well, because what I don't want to do is get your channel dinged and cancelled and so on and so forth. But also, I don't want my door coming in and your door coming in, and that's happened to people. And that's so we're walking a very fine line. But the truth of the matter is, like you were saying earlier about the other commentators, Juliet Hartley-Brewers and so on and so forth, I really find, I don't watch Juliet Hartley-Brewer. I don't like her. I find her very, very difficult. And, she's meant to be on our side. She's meant to be standing with us. But it's quite obvious that a lot of these people aren't standing with us.
Hypocrites.
Well,
absolute hypocrites.
Definitely. Just want to read this one, England Forever. Hi, Paul and Richard. Can we give a shout out to Patriot Movement? He promotes the pledge in every video he does. He's new to YouTube, and he says it as it is. Yeah, I hope we've got that right. I'll have to go out and check his. I have to go and check his channel out, but it's on there. So absolutely. There's another one coming in here. Hi, Paul, Richard. I've said before, I think we need protest in God's name with the right people at the prison. Well, look, we can't do that, Phil, and I tell you why we can't do it at the minute, because the family don't want us to do it, and Tommy doesn't want us to do it. So we'll see what happens. That might change as a result of this ruling.
It may well change.
But that's above my pay grade. I'm not going to go against the wishes of Tommy and Tommy's family. But if that changes, obviously we'll let people know. But at the minute, no, there's no plans for a protest outside the prison. And the question, the thing about it is, you've got to. And I learned this off you, Paul. You've got to work out what the cost and benefit is of what you're doing. What do you actually get out of the action that you're taking, and is it worth taking that action? And I think if I'd have learned that 20 years ago, Paul, I'd probably be a lot richer man now than I am. But I'm never done learning. I always want to learn off wise people. So I think that's a very good way to look at things that we do in the movement. So
listen to me too much, Richard.
Well, that shows how low the bar is for me, mate. I've had some very bad advice in my life, mate. You know what I mean? But no, seriously, I do listen to you, mate. But the truth of the matter is, I think we've got to employ that across the movement. Is what we're doing for the overall good of the cause? And if it isn't, then we ain't got time to waste doing stuff that's not going to actually be beneficial to the cause. So we've got to be very strategic now in what we do. And don't get me wrong. Listen, I used to be the fella that went every single demo there was. And I love demos, and I love doing things that are edgy, and I love doing things that are a bit crazy. But the bottom line is we've got to be We've got to make sure that what we're doing is absolutely targeted and isn't going to damage. We can't afford to do anything that damages the cause. So anything that could lead to any aggro or violence, we can't and don't want to and will not have anything to do with. When we're doing stuff on the street, it's got to be the right vibe. It's got to be peaceful. We've got to do Martin Luther King Jr. and not, Belfast in the 1970s and 80s. Yeah, it's got to be very measured and very calm. And look, Martin Luther King Jr. won. He paid for it. Now, this is the thing. This is the kicker in all this. Martin Luther King Jr. paid for it with his life and with his own blood, but he won. And the civil rights movement in America did put right a lot of injustices that were going on in America. And sadly, we're seeing the same injustices now, Paul, being put upon the British people that were put upon the Black American community in the 40s, 50s, 60s until Martin Luther King Jr. took a stand and basically did what he did. Got another chat coming in there.
Okay, so
we don't need a First Amendment.
Thanks to Miriam, by the way, the last one up there. Thank you very much, my love. Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. I'll pull that one back up, Paul. We can go back through this. There's not a massive number in there. So
Miss Miriam Carr. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a statement here. I've got a message direct from Tommy's team. Whilst we've been on the show, I've just been messaging them saying, where do we go from here? And the message is as follows. Just let your audience know there are other angles being looked at legally. For now, we don't do anything. Once all legal avenues are exhausted, then we will consider our options. So that's direct from Tommy's official team. I'll read that out again, just to say there are other angles being looked at legally. For now, we don't do anything. Once all legal avenues are exhausted, then we can or will consider our options.
Well, I think that's very wise advice, and it's very, it's very smart advice, and I think that, that kind of answers the super that Phil, I think it was, gave us earlier on. Was it Phil? Saying, what about Phil Shepherd? We don't do anything until Tommy's team say to do anything. We've got to be disciplined. We've got to be strategic. And we've got to do it right. Jeff Cole, we don't need a First Amendment, and thanks for the super there, Mick. We don't need a First Amendment. What we need is for our Constitution to be enforced and upheld by those who know it and respect it. And that's, again, very, very good point. And this is where we need lots of different thinkers coming in and giving us ideas and talking. That's why we've got to grow the team with the right people. Sometimes we get the wrong people and it goes all sort of habit, but we've got to grow the team with the right people. And if we get the right people coming on board and helping with what we're doing across everything, across all the things we're involved in, I mean, when you think about it, Paul, we've got our fingers in so many different pies.
Richard,
pledge, we've got.
Do you know something, mate? Sorry, cutting across you there, brother. Look, honestly, I said this in a video that I made the other day, that for me had disappointingly low viewing figures. But during that video, I said, look, we've got it all. We have the people, we have the power, we have the education, we have the money, we have the support, we have truth on our side, we have good on our side. The only thing that we don't have is unity.
Yeah.
So for God's sake, all these people out there that have the right message, that can deliver what we want, we have everything that we need except your unity.
Yep.
And until you give us your unity, we can't give you our support.
Totally. And unity, and that's why the thing's called uniting the kingdom, and that's why we've got to unite it. We've got to keep building it up. We've got to keep going. Paul, we're nearly on 10,000 now, mate. We're on 9,755. Let's get this over 10,000 before we finish.
Just shows you, Richard. Just shows you when you put your makeup on, you see the difference that it makes. Look.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's the rouge. I think it's the rouge that does it, and the little bit that dulls down the red nose. You know what I mean? That's what does it for me. For anyone, you know what I mean?
For anyone that's interested, they're not going to find this interesting, right? But I lost a tooth the other day, right? So I'm back to the dentist, Richard, again, right? The bad news is I'm looking at about 7-hour surgery on my mouth over the next few weeks. And I'm talking surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
No, that's
I've got massive problems, mate. Massive problems. Again.
Well, I know you've got massive problems, Paul, but your teeth are another issue.
Do you know what? It's actually got to the point where I've considered just having them all out, mate, you know, and having a set of Monday mornings, Monday afternoons.
Well, we were.
You know.
I mean, we were discussing this. What we were thinking about was we could set up another channel for gurning. You know, we'll all get our teeth pulled out, and we'll get the old whatever it was from the horse show, and we put that round the neck, and we'll start pulling those funny faces. A lot of people saying I've been gurning for years, but that's another story.
Well, do you know what, Richard? You're not supposed to reveal these backroom conversations, but we was talking
Paul,
about
our strategic planning.
We was talking about setting up a gurning channel, but decided that, you know, for whatever reason, probably Richard would win it before we even kicked the ball. But there you go.
Are you trying to say I've been hit with the ugly stick, Paul?
Oh dear, you have to laugh. Don't you? If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
You cry. Martin Luther King was clearly on the right side of history, as Tommy is now. MLK also supported Israel. UOM MAGA was in 2021. You will win. Paul O'Keefe.
Thank you, Paul.
From the US. I will take that, brother. We need to win. It's not a question of we will win. We absolutely need to win. This is if we don't win, our country will destabilize and fall apart in the next 10 years without a shadow of a doubt because of these scumbags. And they are scumbags that are running the country.
Can I just say, Richard, to all our brothers and sisters out there in Canada, Australia, New Zealand, the United States, thank you for not forgetting us. Thank you for not leaving us behind. If you want to help us spread the message in your respective countries, let your fellow citizens know the state that we're in and the help and support that we need. And the way to do that is by spreading the word and obviously watching. Rude girl, what's that one?
Noel. That's see, Noel's a bit of a rock star. See, this is the thing. I mean, I think Noel and do you know what, mate? I think Noel and Danny could eclipse us now, Paul. Do you know what I mean? They'll be off with Danny in Spain. You know, doing stuff by the pool. You know, drinking the tequila and the mojitos.
No, mind you, Noel in Hemel Hempstead doesn't quite have the same ring, does it? Really, Danny in Spain, Noel in Hemel Hempstead. No, not really.
Look at this! Look at this from our friend. Look, here's our friend Howard Cox. You two class guys. I'm proud. Do you know what? No, Howard, the feeling is 100% mutual. You're an absolute legend, and you know. Listen, what we need to do, Howard, we need to get on and get on Paul's channel and get on my channel if you can. And we need to talk about this net zero thing because we talk a lot about the, you know, all the stuff that we talk about regularly. But where we're lacking is the knowledge of the net zero and all the stats and the facts and figures. All we know is it's a train wreck waiting to happen. It's like watching a slow train go off one of those broken bridges in the old Western movies or Roadrunner. You know.
Here's the thing about Howard. And thank you, by the way, Howard. And I'm not just saying this because, you know, you're watching, obviously. I've not known Howard that long, but I tell you what a guy. And Howard personifies precisely the sort of person that should be in the House of Parliament representing the people. Why? Because he is one of the people. He's precisely the opposite to what these bloody politicians that are sitting in the House, precisely the opposite to what they are. He's a man of the people. He's a man with a heart. I wish I'd have met him 20 years ago.
Well, do you know what? We didn't. I mean, this is the thing, Paul, because I often say, oh, you know, if we'd been doing this 20 years ago, we'd be in different. Well, we weren't because we were all doing different things. We were raising families. Yeah. We were working hard, doing what we had to do to make a crust for our loved ones. So we couldn't get involved in this because we were too busy, you know, and that's what the states relied on, keeping people like us under wraps and under the jackboot, because you get that involved in chasing business and chasing the money, that you go, oh, I'm all right, the government, the politicians will deal with that, we trust them. Well, now we found out that the biggest set of charlatans and shysters and grifters on the planet, they've been lining their own pockets with their little grubby backroom deals, and they've been selling us out down the river. And that's why we need you, Howard. We need you to stay in the game, to keep fighting. You've maximum respect from everybody I talk to, and
I've not heard one bad. Do you know
something?
something? I've not heard not one single bad word about Howard from anyone. Just respect.
Absolutely. Whereas when people talk about me and Paul, it's like,
Absolutely.
But no, it's true. And that's what we need. We need that grand coalition. We need all these people coming together. And Paul, you've done so much of this yourself in bringing people onto these channels and basically widening our base. Because before we started this, there was probably about 20 or 30 of us round Tommy. Not even. There was probably about 10 of us who were really advocating for him. And we were getting hammered, man. I mean, we were getting absolutely hammered, by Hope Not Hate, by the media. They just couldn't wait to. But the broader that base gets, the more difficult it is. It's like it's the I Am Spartacus thing, isn't it? When Tommy got put in prison in 2018, I made a speech at Speaker's Corner, and I had everyone shouting, "I am Spartacus," and then "I am Tommy," and that's what it's got to be like. It's got to be too big to rig. It's got to be too many people speaking up, so those scumbags have to realize that our vote matters more than anybody else's votes. And guys, what I want to say on this, because when we do these talks, we're always dropping little things in, little hints on what you can do and how you can change things. Sign the pledge. Get involved in a political party. Obviously, I'm involved in UKIP, so I'll always be pushing UKIP. Join a political party. Join UKIP if you like it. Get involved on a local level, standing for the council, writing to your MPs. All those things, you might not think they work, but that's the democratic process. We've got to go down that road, and we've got to do that. We need people in local council. We need people that think like us in local councils. The local council election coming up. Now, obviously, Reform are probably going to do well in that, but I think that's going to be, a dead cat bounce. The cat's hit the floor, it's gone up in the air, but it's still dead, right? So I wonder if I stop talking about killing animals, aren't I? So basically,
as long as it's not halal.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally. So basically, what we've got to do, we've got to get involved in the political process at grassroots level. We've got to lobby. We've got to build things like Facebook groups in local areas and Twitter groups for local areas. But the biggest thing that we can do, well, sign the pledge. Obviously, that's a massive thing. Get on the pledge.org.uk and sign it if you haven't already. But the biggest thing everybody in our movement has to do is register to vote. You've got to be on the electoral roll, because if you're not, if you're not on the electoral roll, you might as well write your name on a sausage roll. It's not going to make any difference to politics. The only way you can make difference is get your name, get registered to vote, and then actually get out and vote. Encourage your friends and family to vote as well, because what is it, Paul? 30 to 40% of people that can vote that don't vote. It's something like that, isn't it? I think the turnout was like 50, mid 50%. So that means there's a massive untapped pool of voters who I believe think what we think like, and they don't vote because they don't think they can make any change. If you get registered to vote, we'll have a party for you. We will have a party that you can support in 2029 or whenever the next general election is going to be. We'll be ready. But what we need to do is we need to know that you guys, let's make a covenant. We'll do everything we can to get this political ship exactly like it should be, all together, all cohesive, this movement. And come the next election, we will have candidates that you can vote for in every area up and down the country that think exactly like we do, exactly like Nick Tinconi does, exactly like Ben Habib does, exactly like Rupert Lowe does, exactly like Suella Braverman does. That's what we need, guys. We need everybody to be on the electoral register. Richard and Paul, how are you both? We're alive.
Thank you so much. That we're fine. Yep. But obviously our dear friend isn't, and I'm afraid I'm back to that stage now where I'm going to feel guilty the next time I go out for something to eat. I'm going to feel bloody guilty again because, you know, this guy, the bottom line is this, today's show has been about Tommy's appeal being denied. And, you know, it's heart-wrenching for everyone that knows him, everyone that supports him, because, like I said right at the very beginning, mate, whether you're a believer or not, doesn't really matter. This is about human rights. And if they can do it to him, they can do it to you. So you make a decision. You decide what sort of country you want to live in. Do you want to live in a country where the government can just come along, throw you in jail without a jury, without a trial, sentence you 18 months in prison, tell you that if you take down the film that they didn't like, there'll be a bit more lenient, and when you're told that that's not going to happen, they can send you in solitary confinement and mentally torture. Is that the sort of country that you want to live in? You decide.
He's the canary. He's Paul. He's the canary in the coal mine, and that's not because he's small.
Julia Hartley.
He is the canary in the coal mine.
Julia Hartley Brewer. Not James O'Brien, because he's gone completely. He's beyond help. Nick Ferrari, Julia Hartley Brewer. You know, the all these people that we spoke about earlier on as well. What's his name? Oh, what's the guy's name we was talking about earlier on? He's slipped
Piers Morgan.
Now.
Piers
Morgan, yeah. All of these people, where's your courage? Where's your spine? But even if you can't find that, where's your decency? Where's your decency? Eh?
Exactly.
We know you've been found out.
Exactly. They've been weighed in the balances and found wanting. It's as simple as that. And look, listen, we're not perfect people, very far from it. We're not sitting here saying that we've always got everything right and we do everything perfectly. But I think on this, we're on the right track, and we know what direction we need to go in, and we've got a pretty good idea of how to get there. And we can only get there with all of you guys. And you know, it's not much to ask to say to people, let's get out and vote. Let's get out. You'd be the amount of people that are actually even in our movement that don't vote. Go, guys, well, how do you think we're going to make change?
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody to vote for. Well, okay, there's nobody to vote for. Stand yourself. Stand as an independent. My local MP is an independent, and he's a personal friend of mine. He's a great guy. But I'm going to put it on you, Alex Easton. I want you to speak up for Tommy when you get the first chance in Parliament. So I'm going to write you a letter. I'm going to get all the information off Tommy's team. I'm going to send you a letter, and I want you to stand up in Parliament and advocate for Tommy Robinson. So I've asked you personally, and now I'm asking you publicly on a live stream in front of nearly 9,000 people that will probably be seen by the time it's finished by about 100,000 people. So let's have it. Let's put you on the spot, and let's get you standing up in Parliament along with many other MPs. And again, Rupert Lowe, you know, what's your excuse now for not standing up for Tommy? You're in the naughty corner with reform. It can't get any worse for you in terms of reform. Take a stand for Tommy publicly in Parliament. There's, you know, other ones in Northern Ireland. Jim Allister. I know Jim Allister agrees with everything that we believe in. Unionist politician, strong unionist politician. Let's have some questions in Parliament about Tommy Robinson and his imprisonment, because there are MPs in there that will advocate for him. It seems strange. It's only when MPs aren't in Parliament anymore that they come and advocate for him. You know what I mean? We need people now in Parliament standing up for him. And I wonder, Paul, this is where the Tory party could actually outflank every other right-wing party. If you had Suella Braverman or Robert Jenrick standing up in Parliament advocating for Tommy Robinson, can you imagine what position that would put Nigel and whoever's left in Reform in Parliament? You know,
yeah. Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, but I'm not sure that their balls would spread that far. Let's be honest. You know,
no, I don't think. I don't think so either. Well, listen, guys, that's over an hour and a half. We've nearly we're up. Do you know what? We're up to 9,900. Let's just get this over 10,000. Then we'll clear off and we'll leave you all free.
The trouble is, Richard, and I've had to tell people this before, you can't appeal to people that are already watching to suddenly start watching.
But they can like and share. They can guys like and share this with all your mates. We want to get this. But Paul just wants to get off the channel now. Do you know what I mean? But I want to get us over 10,000. But we'll see what we can do.
No, I see people are leaving now.
I know.
We're quit while we're winning, Richard.
We're quit while we're ahead. We're quit while we're ahead. You know, it's always best to leave on a high, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Well, guys, listen. It's not a good news day at all. That's unjust. I mean, I don't even know what to say about it, Paul. But I just want to say that judge is in a bigger prison than Tommy's in. That's all I'm going to say. That judge is in a bigger prison than Tommy's in, along with all the rest of the establishment. They're in prison. They can't say what they want. Tommy can say what he wants. He pays for it with his freedom. You cowards, you absolute cowards, can't say what you want, because you know, Paul, there's thousands of people in the establishment that know that everything that we say is true. I was told the other day that 2/3 of police officers support Tommy Robinson. 2/3 of police officers support Tommy Robinson. Now think about that. But they're not allowed to say anything. And I'm not saying they're cowards because they'd lose their jobs. But there's people like you were talking about, these establishment figures, Juliet Hartley-Brewer, Nick Ferrari,
well, you can
Pierce
name any of them, can't you?
The whole lot of them. The whole lot of them. They could take a stand. You're cowards. You're absolute cowards, because you've sold your soul for a few shekels, for a few pounds. And it's absolutely disgusting. So stand up for Tommy. Advocate for Tommy, and we'll see you all next time. I'm going to end it there because we're dropping off a cliff. We're now 9,800.
God bless you, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Guys. Listen, bless you all, and listen. You know what to do. Let's get busy. Let's get registered to vote. Let's get writing. Write to your MPs about Tommy. Let's get this done, and let's get Tommy out. See you soon. See you, Paul.
See you later, mate. Thank you.